In Chamber 2, we have a couple of options. So one of the options is to take the elevator and then do a couple of wall climbs or camera launches to get to the next one. And that's what I'm going to be showing first. The other option is to do an elevator skip, which involves either a vertical wall warp up here or a camera launch that goes a little further. I'll show that off later. So first, for both routes, you want to shoot this camera off of the wall. And then for the non-elevator skip route, what you're going to do is you want to get up here. So the easiest way to do this is to wall climb, and the best way to wall climb, I think, is you push up the camera up against the wall just a little bit, so it's a little angled. And that's the best orientation for wall climbing. So if it's any other way, like if it's on its side, or if it's like if you're wall climbing on the bulb, sometimes it might not work. That time it worked just fine. But if you're trying to wall climb like this, you could see like I'm pressing all the right keys, but it's just not doing anything. So you don't want that. And then the fastest way actually to get up here is by doing a little camera launch. So let me see if I can demonstrate that. Something like that. So what I do is I look slightly down. I'm going to hold W and A, and then I'm not going to crouch. And once I push up against the camera a little bit, I'm going to jump and move my view slightly up. So something like that. It's a little weird and sometimes a little inconsistent, but it's not too bad if you practice it enough times. I'm not getting it now, of course, but I promise it's not actually that bad. Come on. There we go, close enough. And then in 03, we can do a similar thing, or we can do wall climbs, or we can do camera launches across the gaps, which I'll show in just a second here. So you're going to come out of this elevator, and then you want to shoot this camera off of the wall. And then you want to set it down. You can do this in either direction, it doesn't really matter. This is the direction that I prefer. So set it down so that it's parallel to the wall. And then my setup for this is I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to be toggle ducked. And then I'm going to hold W and D up against the camera for maybe about half a second. And then after that, I'm going to turn my view towards the wall and hold A. And then once I fly off the camera, I'm going to do a jump, and that should get me all the way to the end. Not quite like that. If the camera turns like crazy, it probably isn't going to work. Something like that. And then you can actually grab that camera with you if you want. It doesn't really matter. If you want a reference, I think that doing the wall climb here is about as fast as failing the launch twice and then retrying it, and then getting it on the third try. So if if you find that you're not getting this launch, like say within like 3 or 4 tries, then maybe just consider doing a wall climb, because it's a bit more consistent, I think. With this camera, same exact deal, except with this camera, if you shoot a portal here, the camera doesn't actually get pushed away from the wall, so just make sure to like pick it up right away, so that way it doesn't rotate like crazy. And then you do the exact same thing here. That was close. Something like that. If you're lucky, you go straight into the elevator. The other option is to do elevator skip, so I'll show off the easy version of that. So you do the same thing to get up here, and hope it works. If you want the camera with you. If you don't get it with you, that's actually fine. But you want it to be, you want to just set it down like next to the portal. You don't want it to be like in the portal. That's too close. Just like maybe about a tile away from the portal. If it ends up being down here after you do the wall climb or the camera launch, whatever, just portal it through, and then just set it down like right about here. And then we're gonna get save glitch, and then like shoot downwards here, so that way you're in front of the save glitch portal, and then you want to do a vertical wall warp here. So the an easy way of doing this is you can like jump outwards, crouched, and then catch yourself. Or you don't even have to jump at all if you have good control, and you can just catch yourself straight into the portal. Jump and save load, that gets you up here, and then we're going to warp into this room over here. So place a portal there and then jump into it here. Vertical wall warp, and then place a portal somewhere here and just drag the camera through, and then wall climb up here. Mind the camera orientation, and then you can either you probably want to pick that camera up so that it's already in the correct orientation if you want to do the launch. It's probably about the same speed to not do that and instead do the wall climb over here. If the camera is in a good orientation and complies, that is.
Well done. Remember, the aperture size.
And finally, there is a faster way still of doing this map. So what you can do the same thing here. So do a camera launch up here. And then you actually want the camera to stay in like this orientation. And so you you actually want to turn it around, in fact. So this is the best orientation that I found works for this. So this is going to be a camera launch that goes all the way to the top of O3. So you just get save glitch right over here. And then you want to walk into the camera up against this wall here. And then the way that I do this is I'm going to walk into it, and then I'm going to jump, crouch, and move my view up as I hit it. And then hopefully, once in a blue moon, that'll boost you towards that'll boost you high enough to get to the top of O3. This is by far the least consistent way of doing this. And then once you actually get the launch, shoot straight down, and that will make sure that your next shot can land like where you're actually aiming. And then you want to just go to the end here. And then here you can do you can either do like a PBR because you never go through the portal like that, or you can just save load down. Or what I like to do is place a portal and then vertical, just save load next to it, and that'll vertical wall warp you downwards, or like the equivalent. And then make sure you hit the trigger to open up the elevator. And then there's also an alternative to that strat. So you can do all the same stuff. So come up here, and then leave the camera like flip it around here, and then get save glitch here. And then instead of like walking into this wall, you walk into this wall with this orientation. And the way that you want to do this is you want to shove your face into the camera, then walk into the corner and then jump. And sometimes that's a bit more consistent, I think, than the other method. And the cool thing about this is that if you get super lucky, sometimes you'll go straight into the fizzler. But that's pretty rare. I wouldn't recommend trying that RTA. So, like here you can see that actually puts me straight up to the top, just like the other launch does.